Hi guys, this is Professor Sarah. Welcome to my class again. Okay, so last time we talked about endangered language. So we learned that language is not just a way of communication, but it also relates to culture. So when we lose the language, we are losing the culture as well. So a lot of linguists and people try to, preserve their language in order to keep their culture, their roots, and also people. So there are some stronger language, for example, like English. Native Americans lost their own language because American, or maybe, English people, they took the language over. So usually more powerful or dominant language replaces less powerful language. And this happened a lot in, not only Native Americans, but also in a lot of countries like, Asia and, Korea is one of the example too. So last time we finished listening activity 1, and today we're going to continue listening 2. Okay, so let's get started. Page 179, listening to My Life, My Language. Vocab. Read the blog entry, notice the bold-faced word. Try to guess their meanings. My weekly blog. Look at the picture. Discussing ways we can preserve languages. So the speaker is talking to the audience and they are having discussions on ways they can preserve the languages together. Let's read weekly blog together. If you follow my blog, you know I travel all over the world studying endangered languages. Along the way, I have met so many interesting people and learned about their languages and cultures. On my recent trip, I got together with several different communities of people to talk about how to preserve their languages. Together, we came up with some great ideas of how to help slow the loss of their languages. In many situations, language loss occurs when the dominant language becomes the official language of a country and replaces other languages. When this happens, people stop using the language or learning it in school, and it can become extinct. In these situations, people have to work with the government to create a new language policy and rules about language teaching. Without people working together like this, languages will eventually become extinct. I have posted some stories of people I met. I hope you'll find them interesting and inspiring. Okay, please pause the video and read it by yourself. Okay. There are some expressions that are in bold-faced word. For example, got together, came up with, official language, event policy, and eventually. So try to guess the meaning of these 5 words and read it slowly from the beginning to the end. And we'll talk about this blog together. Did you read it over? So what is he talking about? What's his job? So he studies language and he goes around the world and he meets people, right, who are trying to preserve their languages. And he's trying to help, just stop, losing their languages. So there are many ways to, just stop speaking language, but one of the just kind of official way is that, they stop using the language and learning it from the school. So that's how the languages disappear. It's like a process of it. So he's trying to create new language policy and new rules about language teaching because he believes that protecting language is very important. So he's trying to work with those people, and he posted stories of people. So he had an interview with those people who are also trying to stop the language extinctions with him. Okay, so that's what the blog is about. So number 2, match the boldface word with their definition. Write the number of the words. Okay, so number 1 to 5. Okay, please match them together with ATE. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes and please check your answer. Okay, so did you finish it? I think you finished matching definition and the words from my weekly blog. So now let's track the answer together. So A, an official way of doing something that was designed by a government or organization. The answer is 4, policy. B, at some later time in the end. It's number 5, eventually. Eventually means finally. C, created, thought of something. It's number 2. Number 2 is came up with. I came up with a great idea. That means I have a great idea. Next one, it's D, met and spend time together. It's number 1, got together or get together. Okay, so I spent great time with my friends. My friends and I got together. You can say that. E, a language approved by the government of a country and taught in schools. It's number 3, official language. Please check your answer. Okay, moving on, now we're going to talk about taking notes. So we have kept practicing taking note skills, and mainly we focus on key points, which are the main idea. This time we're going to move on to details. So what's details? Details are supporting details, which means that they support main idea. So in order to make your main point stronger, you need some supporting details, and they are usually examples and reasons. And reasons and examples are also important because it's not, even though it's not the key point, they are focused on the main points. Okay, so let's talk about taking notes, focusing on supporting detail. Taking notes on reasons and examples. Okay, so we kept practicing note-taking skills and we have focused on, key points, which are main ideas. So speakers often support their ideas with reasons or example. So of course there are main idea, but there are some supporting details and, to just support the main idea, the key point. And they are supported by reasons and examples. Identifying and noting the reasons and examples can help you to better understand the main ideas. So reasons and examples are very important because they give, stronger, they make the main idea stronger. When noting reasons and examples, it's important to connect them with the main ideas they support in your notes. So there are some phrases that introduce reasons. So after you introduce your main ideas, you use supporting details, which are reasons. And this is the phrase that you introduce the reasons. For example, the reason is that. One reason is there are several reasons. This is because or because. So sometimes the speaker states the reason for something first, followed by the results. Okay, so sometimes you give the main idea and then reason, but there are also cases you give the reason first and then you follow the results after. So phrases that follow reason, so you give the reason here and then your result is that's why. Okay, so for example, you can say language is related to culture. That's why we have to protect the language. When languages disappear, culture is also gone. As a result, to keep the culture, we should, stop endanger language. And another reason, and then you say so, and then comma, okay, and then you follow by the result. Okay, so comma is also important. Phrases that signal examples. Okay, so we talk about reasons and now we're going to talk about examples here together. For example, an example of this is, for instance, such as, okay, so let's see how they are used in details. You can indicate examples in your notes with the abbreviations. Okay, abbreviation means make it short. Okay, for example, you could write example EXAMPLE, but it's too long, so you're using EX, EG, and that's the abbreviation, the short form of example. Okay, so let's look at the example here. One reason that a language disappears is that a more powerful language replaces it. For example, okay, English replaced many Native American languages in North America. You give details to support the main idea. So this is the main idea, and this is supporting detail. And in order to support the main idea better, you give reasons or, example, and this is an example case. And you show the phrases that signal example by saying, for example. Okay. So now let's listen to the excerpts and note the main idea and the reasons or examples that support them. Okay, so let's listen together.
Page 180. Note-taking skill. Exercise 1. Excerpt 1.
Having fewer languages is more convenient for communication, but there are good reasons to save endangered languages. When a language dies, part of the culture can die too. Now, this doesn't always happen. For instance, the Manx people on the Isle of Man in the Irish Sea lost their native language. But they've kept many parts of their culture and traditions as Manx.
Excerpt 2.
And there are several reasons why languages can become endangered. One reason is sometimes the government makes it illegal to teach the language in school. For example, before 1987, it was illegal to teach the Hawaiian language in Hawaii's public schools.
Did you take your notes down? Okay, so remember you have to focus on supporting details this time. Of course, main idea is important, but this time it's for you to remember, details, which are examples and reasons, okay? And make sure you use, simple form. It doesn't have to be full sentence. You can use abbreviations and make it short. Okay, so now let's check your answer. Let's compare your notes and my notes together. The answers. Number 1, reason to save endangered language. So, and when language dies, culture also dies. But it's not always true. For example, Manx, they actually lost their language, but they still kept their parts of culture. Number 2, reasons that language becomes endangered. So governments makes it illegal to teach. For example, before 1987, there is no Hawaiian language in public schools. After 1987, there was a new program and they started to learn new languages. So more than 2,000 students started to speak, Hawaiian language again. So that's what the extras was talking about. So please check your answer. Okay, page 181. There are questions on page 181 and 182. So there are 11 questions. Please listen carefully again and focus on details, supporting details, and solve the questions from number 1 to number 11.
Page 181. Comprehension.
I am Māori, living in New Zealand. In school I learned and spoke English. This is because English was the official language. Everything was taught in English in school. That was the government policy. I only heard Māori when I was with my grandparents. I could understand a little Māori but could not speak it. I could not have a conversation with my grandparents because they did not speak English. When I was in school, I knew that I was not learning the Māori culture. As a result, I felt separated from my grandparents. I felt empty inside and different from my family. Māori is an endangered language, and if children stop learning it, it will eventually die. I do not want to see Māori disappear. So now that I am an adult and have children of my own, I decided I wanted my children to learn their native language. I found a preschool that teaches children Māori before they enter school where they will learn English. The schools are called language nests. Language nests began in 1981 when a group of Māori leaders saw that Māori was endangered and dying. They decided to do something. They did not want to wait for the government to do anything, so they got together and came up with the idea of preschools where children can learn Māori. Now there are over 400 language nests and more than 9,000 children go to school at language nests. Language nests are a big part of Māori education. Through the language nests, children learn about the values and traditions of the Māori culture. For example, we have a strong belief in love, compassion, caring, hospitality, family responsibilities, and respect for elders. Also, children learn our Māori stories, which are a big part of our tradition. So children learn about Māori culture as well as the language. We are also trying to help adults learn Māori. For instance, I now attend classes that meet in a neighbourhood centre, where the teachers are all older Māoris, usually grandparents. Another way adults can learn is by attending week-long classes. In these courses, no English is spoken all week. Everything is Māori. Now there are many more adults who speak Māori, and this encourages our children who are also learning Māori. Language classes have really helped to preserve Māori. Also, in 1987, the government recognised Māori as the official language of New Zealand, with English too. This will also help preserve the Māori language.
Okay, did you do all the questions? Okay, now we're gonna check the answer together. Let's check the answer together. Number 1, where does the woman live? Number 1, it's A, New Zealand. Number 2, what language did she learn in school? It's B, English. She's talking about Maori, but also at the same time, it's number 2 question is talking about the language learned in school. Okay. Number 3, what language did her grandparents speak? It's A, Maori. Number 4, how did she feel in her family? It's A, empty and different. Number 5, where do her children learn Maori language and culture? It's B, in language nest. Number 6, what is a language nest? It's A, preschool. Moving on to next page, 7. How many language nests are there now? It's B, over 400. Number 8, what are 3 Maori values that children learn? It's A, love, caring, and respect for elders. Number 9, who teaches the Maori adults their language and culture? It's B, older Maoris. Number 10, where do they meet? It's B, in neighborhood centers. Number 11, what is the official language of New Zealand now? It's B, English and Maori. Okay, so she talked about, her language. There are 2 official languages of New Zealand. It's English and Maori. And because there are so many people who are trying to preserve their language and so much efforts from these people, Maori became, official language. It was about to extinct, and it was actually endangered language. But, they try to, keep and preserve their language from language nest. What's language nest? So they don't teach in public school anymore. So they start to, teach and learn from the preschool. So because of so much efforts, trying to, preserve language because it represents their culture and spirit, they actually could, feel the abundance of the language and culture of Maori. So Maori values are, love, caring, and respect for elders, and children are learning that. That makes their hearts maybe more connected to Maori culture. Okay, so for example, they say that they used to feel very empty and different from the family of Maori. But ever since they learned the language and culture, through the language nest, which are at preschool, maybe they don't feel empty and different anymore. But rather than that, they feel about the caring heart and loving heart, and respect for elders. Those they try to keep the values of Maori by learning the language. Page 183. Okay, moving on, let's flip to page 183. Okay, now let's talk about more of listening skills. Page 183, listening skills. Listen to an excerpt from the lecture about language laws. What does the pronoun they refer to? So I'm going to say they decide to do something. They is the pronoun. And what they refer to. Okay, so recognizing and understanding pronoun reference. Pronouns are words that represent other nouns. So what's pronoun? Pronouns are nouns, but not just nouns, but they indicate nouns. For example, he, she, it, they, them, this, that. And these are pronouns. And they can refer to maybe people, things, or ideas, right? Or maybe some informations. So we are using pronouns, and speakers usually can speak about someone or something without repeating the name or ideas they are referring to. For example, I'm talking about one girl called Sarah. Sarah goes, if I keep repeating Sarah, it will be too much. So we can say she instead, right? Okay, in this example, they refer to group of Maori leaders who saw that the Maori language was in danger and decided to do something about it. So instead of, mentioning Maori leaders, she said they. And we could understand what she was talking about and who she's referring to. So let's listen to another excerpt.
Page 183. Listening skill. Example.
There are over 6,000 languages in the world, and some linguists think that about 50% could be extinct by the year 2100. Yes, that's a lot.
Okay, so let's listen to the example one more time.
Page 183. Listening skill. Example.
There are over 6,000 languages in the world, and some linguists think that about 50% could be extinct by the year 2100. Yes, that's a lot.
Okay, so there are over 6,000 languages in the world, and some linguists think that about 50% could be extinct by the year 2100. Yes, that's a lot. Okay, so what is that? Means this idea. Okay, and that it's pronoun that explains this phrase. 50% of the languages could become extinct. Moving on, let's move on to next example. Listen to the following excerpts from language laws. Write the meaning of the boldface word.
Page 183. Listening skill. Exercise 2. Excerpt 1.
So, many linguists want to preserve these dying languages.
So why do they want to do that? There are so many languages. Isn't it easier when people speak the same language anyway?
Well, that's a good point.
Excerpt 2.
Think about what is expressed through language. Stories, ceremonies, poetry, humor, a whole way of thinking and feeling. When a language dies, all of this may be lost.
Excerpt 3.
Now, how do you think languages become endangered and extinct?
Well, I guess nobody speaks them or studies them.
Hey, why do they want to do that? Why do they want to do that? Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, see, when a language dies, all of this may be lost. They, I guess nobody speaks them or studies them. Yeah, let's listen one more time.
Page 183. Listening skill. Exercise 2. Excerpt 1.
So, many linguists want to preserve these dying languages.
So why do they want to do that? There are so many languages. Isn't it easier when people speak the same language anyway?
Well, that's a good point.
Excerpt 2.
Think about what is expressed through language. Stories, ceremonies, poetry, humor, a whole way of thinking and feeling. When a language dies, all of this may be lost.
Excerpt 3.
Now, how do you think languages become endangered and extinct?
Well, I guess nobody speaks them or studies them.
Okay, so we listened to the excerpt together. Okay, if you didn't catch it, please pause the video or repeat the listening again. And please solve the questions. We'll check the answer together. Okay, so did you figure out what each pronouns indicates? Okay, let's check the answer together. A. Why do they want to do that? They are linguists. That is preserve dying languages. B. That's a good point. That is, it's easier when people speak the same language. Excerpt 2. When a language dies, all of this may be lost. This equals to the things expressed through languages. Excerpt 3D. I guess nobody speaks them or studies them. Them equals to languages that are being endangered and extinct. Okay, so we've finished 2 listening activities of Chapter 8, Endangered Language. We're going to move on to speaking activity. So let's turn to page 185, focus on speaking. Okay, so now you and I, we're going to read the instructions together, vocabulary review. Ready? Go. Complete the conversation between 2 students with words from the box. Use the underlined phrases to help you guess the answers. Okay, so there are 5 different words, and I'm going to read it, so please repeat after me. Okay? First one is disappear, dominant, endanger, extinct, linguist. Okay, if you flip to the next page, page 186, there are 5 more words. Okay, let's read it together. Okay, please repeat after me. Okay, first one, acquire, native language, official languages, preserve, replacing. Okay, so pause the video. Please practice pronouncing 10 words. And there is a conversation between A and B on page 185 to 86. Okay, please pause the video. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. Fill in the blanks, okay, with 10 different words. And we're going to read the conversation and check the answer together. Okay, let's get into it. All right, let's check the answer. So it's a conversation between A and B. A. Have you heard of the Endangered Language Alliance? No, what is it? It's a project of people who study languages. It's a group of people, linguists. What do? They are studying number 2, endangered languages that may die soon. And they do it in New York. New York? Really? Why New York? Well, English is the main language. Right. English is the number 3, dominant language. Yes, but some linguists believe there are as many as 800 languages spoken in New York. 800 languages, wow. They call New York an endangerment hotspot. New York is full of languages that are not going to be around in 20 or 30 years. Languages that will be, number 4, extinct. Right, over time, people will stop speaking the languages. The languages will slowly go away. And they will, number 5, disappear. All right, did you finish it? I hope you are all done with filling the blanks, okay, from number 1 to number 10. Okay, please check the answers. Okay, so let's read the conversations. Okay, I'm going to read it for you, okay, as an example and demonstrations. After I finish it, make sure you pause the video. I'll give you 5 minutes, and you have to practice reading the conversation. First time you can be A, and for the second time you can be. If you have a partner, if you have a friend, around you, maybe you can practice with a friend. That'll be better. But if you're just alone, you can make sure you practice both of A and B. Okay? So let's check the answer and read the conversation together. Okay? A. Have you heard of Endangered Language Alliance? No, what is it? It's a project of people who study languages. It's a group of linguists. What do? They're studying endangered languages that may die soon, and they do it in New York. New York? Really? Why New York? Well, English is the main language. Right. English is the number 3, dominant language. Yes, but some linguists believe there are as many as 800 languages spoken in New York. 800 languages! Wow! They call New York an endangerment hotspot. New York is full of languages that are not going to be around in 20 or 30 years. Languages that will be, number 4, extinct. Right, over time. People will stop speaking the languages. The languages will slowly go away. And they will disappear. Flip to the next page, 186, and let's continue. That's right. The United Nations keeps a list of languages that might become extinct. UN experts and linguists think that a language will probably disappear in 1 generation or 2. That happens when the number of people who use the language as a first language is too small. In other words, when there are not enough people who use the language as a native language. Right. And when no one is learning the language, children don't acquire it. For example, one language spoken in New York, and Garifuna, is from Belize and Honduras in Central America. But people now speak Spanish and English instead, which are the dominant languages. Spanish and English are replacing Garifuna. Yes, and in many Central American countries, Spanish and English are the languages the government uses. So English and Spanish are the official languages. Right, but Garifuna is now as common in New York as in Honduras and in Belize, where it is from. Many people move to New York and still speak the language. Some people in New York want to save the language, so there are now classes in Garifuna. Maybe they can preserve it, and they can do it in New York. They don't have to travel to faraway countries. Exactly. Okay, so the conversation wasn't short. Okay, please check your answer from number 1 to 10. And now it's your turn to read. Okay, so please pause the video. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. And make sure you read the conversation and practice pronunciation. Okay, so did you practice the conversation? Okay, make sure you have to open your mouth and practice speaking. Okay, this is not only a listening class, but this is also speaking class. So you have to, practice pronunciations and, you have to focus on intonations and stress while you're reading. Okay, so if you did it, good job. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about preserving language. So in the beginning of this chapter, we talk about endangered languages. For example, why languages will disappear, what's the reason, what's the process. Moving on, we're going to talk about protecting the language. So we talk about the reasons why we have to protect the language. But now we're going to talk about the efforts to preserve the language. So before we move on to the next activity, we're going to watch very interesting videos, 2 videos. First one, it's a girl from Canada. She's from Vancouver, Canada, where I'm from, and she goes to school, University UBC. I also graduated from UBC, University of British Columbia. So we're from the same school. So she's a First Nation. What's First Nation? So like New Zealand, there are some people from Maori, and also Canada or America, there are some people who are called First Nation. They're the owner of this land. They usually look darker, and they look like maybe Southeast Asian people. Some people look like white people. This girl from this video looks like white people, and she tries to learn and keep the language from, where she is. So First Nations, Indian, and indigenous people, they're the same meaning, but we don't use the word Indian anymore because Indians doesn't sound very good and people take it offensive, so it's not a good word. So instead we use First Nations or indigenous people. So this video is about an indigenous girl from Canada. Let's watch it together.
Wachatquat, and I'm from the Stratford Territory and the Lil'wat Nation, and I'm an Okomiuk person. I'm now a UBC student, and I'm in the First Nations and Endangered Languages program, and I learn how to document and transcribe Indigenous languages. I had a really hard time when I was younger with my identity because of the way that I look, and most of my siblings are all darker and everything, so it was kind of a way for me to reclaim that part of myself. Because then if I can speak the language, then I am Lil'wat. Tala, Antwash, Kasash, Ho'ochin, Chilks, Lakumst, Chusakat, Palupst, Compalman, Kamp. Okomiuk, if you can count from 1 to 10, then you can basically speak the language, because then all the words from 1 to 10, they have all of the sounds in our language, so all the sound systems. Spesks, Chuchin, Reichman. Inside languages hold so many pieces of our cultures. It's like a part of your identity, and then when you can't speak it anymore, it's like there's something missing, and I don't think that feeling won't ever go away unless I really learn the language and can speak to other people in it. It's hard while I'm at school. I don't really see as many people from my own nation, so I kind of just read my dictionary and say the words to myself and go through the different booklets that I have.
My English name is Alvin Nelson. My native name is Winnimkin. Yeah, I'd have to say I'm really proud of my daughter Maya for taking up that linguistic subject, and I really believe that it could help our people.
Have you been training?
No, I didn't have time.
No?
I can only try to help her with what I can remember. I notice that a lot of the students that are doing language course, they don't have certain sounds that I grew up with. How would you say it, going hunting?
To hunt is pechem.
Yeah, you say pechem, but I say pechem.
Pechem.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the difference. Like that's the just changing of the language.
Yeah.
We have under 200 people left in this community that are fluent speakers, which is almost erasing us. And I hope we survive. It's like we're quite small, quite a small group of people. In our area here, I think we're only around 2,500.
I've grown up hearing him tell us all about all these different stories, but you always need to hear them again and again so that you have the story right. And then I like hearing him sing because he's a really good singer.
My mom was involved with hoping to save the language. But now we have Maya. Hopefully she can revive some of the language.
Okay, so how was this? I think this film was more interesting to me because I also have many friends who are indigenous people in Canada. When I was in Canada, I also visited their village. It's called, reserve, First Nations reserves. So reserves are usually very far from the city. For example, I had to visit the reserve called Gingolix. Gingolix is a town of indigenous people, and it's the name of their tribe. So it took maybe 14 hours from Vancouver, so I had to drive 14 hours to visit their town. They're usually isolated, so most of people speak English, and usually young kids, they lost their own language, and their language are, forgotten by the efforts of the government, because the Canadian government, also forced them to speak English. And if you look at the history back, there were some efforts to, just for them to just forget their culture. So it was actually not so much happy memory for them. So a lot of people are isolated and they lost their culture, but there are also people who try to keep their language and culture like her. So it was very interesting. Okay, moving on, we're gonna watch another film, very interesting one. It's a guy from New York, and he's trying to actually preserve different languages. And this is possible not only because of his efforts, but there are so many other volunteers who are trying to do the same, trying to go and approach the same goal as him. So there are hundreds of volunteers who are trying to help him to save many languages. Okay, so let's talk about this video after we watch it together.
Of the roughly 7,000 languages spoken and signed on Earth, about 500 of them are currently at risk of disappearing as the number of native speakers dwindles. This is the story about one man dispatching an army of volunteers to record these languages before it's too late.
My name is Daniel, and I am the co-founder and director of WikiTongues, a nonprofit powered by more than 1,000 volunteers around the world, working to preserve, promote, and pass on every language to the next generation. Every day, hundreds of volunteers around the world are recording videos.
Justin Etisema Eshkuniyawa Igualicata. Iluchi Yoroni.
I help keep track of all of these videos as they're submitted so that they can be reused for educational and cultural purposes. New York is very important to linguistic diversity. New York is, by most statistics, the most linguistically diverse city in the world. There are as many as 800 languages spoken in and around the 5 boroughs. In many cases, it can be easier for communities to maintain their languages here than it is to maintain their languages at home. Today we're going to meet up with WikiTongues volunteers who are going to be taking us through different parts of New York. So we're going to speak Ilocano. Yeah. WikiTongues focuses on recording oral histories, which is a fancy way of saying talking about yourself and your culture. Sometimes people barely talk about their language at all, and they just talk about their daily job, in their language, of course. Sometimes people talk about the history of their language and their culture.
Perkenalkan diri dalam bahasa Aru.
My name is Elvi Goliat. I will speak Aru language. Beta pun nama Elvi Goliat. Beta dari Dobo. Dobo itu di Pulau Aru, tempat beta dilahirkan.
The WikiTongues approach is record everything and classify it later. What I do is make sure that all of that content gets tracked and archived so it doesn't get lost and so it can be used for posterity and in the long term.
Servus. Ik kom as an Glanta for Northbayern and Durbin Afro.
WikiTongues has recorded over 435 languages from over 70 countries. That number changes every day. There are plenty of examples of languages being brought back from the dead. There's Cornish, there's Hebrew, there's Tunica. All of these languages had one thing in common. When the last native speaker died, there were materials for the cultural descendants to bring them back. And so building an open archive of every language in the world is not just a way of ensuring that people today can promote and teach their languages to the next generation. It's a way of ensuring that future generations can revive their languages even if they go extinct.
Okay, so how was the video? It was very interesting for me. So it was about a guy from New York, okay? So from the passage we went over, we also talk about New York is a diverse city. New York, there are many endangered languages because there are people from different cultures and different countries. And this video surely represents the passage too. Okay, so this video is about a guy called Daniel, and he is a co-founder of non-profit organizations called Wikitons. So what's Wikitons? Wikiton, they are trying to preserve the language. It doesn't matter what the language is. If they are in danger, he tries to preserve the language, but not by himself, with the people's efforts together. So there are hundreds and thousands of volunteers who are trying to do the same goal as him. So a lot of volunteers submit the video of recording themselves. They speak the language, endangered language, and record it and submit it. And he tries to keep tracking on it. And this video, can be used for educational purpose, maybe for the students in the future. So he used dictionary and videos together, and he goes and meet new people who are trying to, help him. So in this video, he visited a supermarket and he met a new people who tries to help him. So how was this video? What do you think about it? Do you think the efforts to preserve the language is worth it? Okay. So let's have a deeper discussion on it. Let's open to page 187. Expand. Number 1, read the article from a website about language preservation. Notice the bold-faced words and phrases. Try to guess their meaning. Preserving the world's languages. In 1999, the United Nations made February 21st International Mother Language Day to celebrate the many languages of the world and to encourage their preservation. But preserving the world's languages is a big challenge. Languages are becoming extinct very quickly because people are starting to speak other languages, such as English. English is the dominant language of international business. Also, English and a few other languages are beginning to take over popular entertainment, such as television, music, film, and the internet. For example, more than 55% of websites on the internet are in English. In many countries, students no longer learn in their mother tongue at school. In addition, many parents encourage their children to learn the languages of a more powerful community in order to get an education and find a good job. For these reasons, many children don't become fluent in their native language, and many parents don't pass their language down to their children. This is why linguists are making an effort to preserve the world's language before they are lost. Okay, so I read the passage for you on page 187, okay? Please don't just listen to it, okay? So I'm going to give you a few minutes, okay? Please pause the video and read the conversation. Make sure you have to speak out and practice pronouncing the word correctly, and also use your intonation and stress when you read this passage together, okay? So what is this passage talking about? This passage is talking about why they lose their native language speaking skills. Why do they lose it? Because they don't speak it anymore, but they speak dominant language. What's dominant language? Dominant language is a powerful language. For example, English is a dominant language. We're learning English because a lot of people speak it and a lot of countries speak it. So if you know how to speak English, maybe you get a better chance to get a better job and better school. Okay, that's why so many parents don't, force their kids to speak their native language, but they just want their kids to speak English, and that makes a problem. So in that case, kids can maybe lose their own culture and their native tongue. So that's the problem, and so many linguists actually try to preserve the language because of this reason. Okay, let's talk about the questions together now. Number 2, write the number of each boldface word or phrase in the text next to its definitions. A to E. A, native language. E, give or teach something to younger people. C, trying to do something, working toward the goal. D, gain control of something. E, speaking or writing very well in an easy, smooth way. Please match the definition and words, okay, number 1 to number 5 together, and we're going to check the answer together. Okay, this is the answer. So, number 2, mother tongue is native language. Number 4, pass down means give or teach something to younger people. Number 5, making an effort means trying to do something, working towards a goal. Number 1, take over means gain control of something. Number 3, which is fluent, means speaking or writing very well in an easy or smooth way. Please check your answer. Okay, so that was it for Chapter 8, Endangered Languages. So we used a lot of examples to show that the risk of endangered languages and also efforts to protect the endangered languages. So language is very important because it's about culture, it's about community, and it's about the history as well. Okay, so thank you for watching this lesson. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know and send me an email. Okay, so we only have 2 weeks left. I'm gonna update you with the notice about final exam and what we're gonna do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.